Hey guys, welcome back to Geared Forwards. My name's Paul, and today we're taking a look at the Olight Diffuse. Olight's fresh attempt at tackling the AA 14500 form factor. So let's start off with a size comparison. So we'll bring in our trusty Victorinox guy. So we have 58mm classic on top and a 91mm Susami knife down on the bottom. And honestly, in terms of length, the Susami knife is slightly longer, but this is actually a pretty comparable comparison in terms of thickness and overall length. Comparing it against its most relevant Olight competitor, here we have the i5T, the main really AA 14500 series kind of competitor. So just lining these up down here, none of which is centered because, hey, what are we doing here? The i5T is clearly longer. Now, it is worth noting that part of that is just going to be down to the fact that this has a rear clicky switch. Tail switches, especially mechanical ones, really do add significant length to a light. That is something that should always be, thought of when making comparisons. And let's go ahead and compare it to the cell that it's going to be using. If you're wondering what batteries I use for AA's, then I tend to either go for a Duracell or an IKEA ladder in terms of nickel metal hydride rechargeables, which is my preferred way of using a AA light. Okay, so into the light itself. Let's start off with the exterior design. So we do have this pentagonal shape. Pentagonal? Yeah, pentagonal. Which is unusual. It definitely feels a little odd in the hand the first couple times. When you hold it this way, though, it does kind of lock into the creases of your knuckles, which is quite nice. The button is ever so slightly raised, so it can activate. We have a lockout mode there that we'll talk about before, but it can activate if pressed down onto a surface. In terms of construction, as you can see, we have no clip here, which is a bit of a downside. We do, however, have a hole for a lanyard, which does come included in the packaging, as well as a slot for some tritium. And this is actually how you get the battery out, which is I'm a little torn on. So this is going to be partially why this is so short overall. You have like 3 threads in this entire thing. Come on, focus. Which makes it feel fiddly to take apart and put together, which is relevant based on how it charges. And also makes me feel a little bit questionable sometimes about water resistance, but this is rated IPX8, so that should be fine as I knock over that i5T. Comes included with Olight's custom 14500. It only runs at 3.6 volts, 920 milliamp hours, and it has a built-in USB-C recharging on the board there. Let's throw this all back together and get into brightnesses and whatnot. Now this is kind of what I mean, because you have such short threads, it can feel a little awkward to not cross thread it, because as soon as you're pressing into the threads, you're also pressing into the O-ring that's providing the water resistance, which is making it kind of just bounce back out a little bit. This is a very minor criticism. Please understand that as a nitpick, but when you are using a rechargeable light that you have to take the battery out to recharge, it is something that can factor into your satisfaction with the light. So we have the normal Olight UI. Here we have a slightly raised switch with an indicator light on top of it. So if we go hold it down, we get moonlight mode. This is 1 lumen and will last for 180 hours. And we have no indicator light to kind of reinforce that low energy mode. Then moving up into low, we have 10 lumens, which will last for 25 hours. up into medium, where we get 50 lumens for 7 hours. So this is kind of where you'll be a lot of the time if you're looking for longer runtime. Whenever you're looking at a light for kind of extended use, where you might only be recharging it once a week, or you're going to be using it heavily throughout a shift, that kind of thing, you really want to look at the medium mode and see how happy you are with using that. And 50 lumens is pretty good for most kind of urban up close situations. It is enough to get you down a dark path. I might want a little bit more personally, but it is definitely usable. As I said, we get 7 hours at that 50 lumen mode. Coming up into high, we have 350 lumens, very usable, and it's going to be at that 350 lumen mark for 10 minutes before it steps down to 43% of its output for a further 2 hours. So that's still going to run for quite a long time, and at an appreciable brightness that you can still use for navigating around outside and that kind of thing. We're going to double click to go into turbo mode, which is 700 lumens, and it's going to hold this brightness for 1 minute before stepping down, I believe, to 50% brightness for a further 70 minutes. Now, a triple click, this is going to be a strobe warning, so look away if you have any sensitivity. Triple click will take you into strobe, and the strobe is ending now. And from off, if you long hold it until moonlight mode comes on and goes off, you'll enter this lockout mode, which when you go to press it on, you'll only just get this red ring. And to turn this off, you just need to hold it again until you come back into moonlight mode. There is a general criticism of that kind of lockout function where, oh, if something's being depressed, then you know that can just be unlocked anyway. I understand where that criticism comes from. I don't personally subscribe to it because honestly, if something is going to be like getting nudged in my pocket or something like that, then it's most likely going to be intermittently pressed rather than being held down for an extended period of time. And if it is held down for an extended period of time, then it's going to come on in moonlight mode, and that's fine. In fact, it could just end up cycling into lockout again, so I don't think that's really an issue. So overall, how do I feel about this light now? It is £33 full retail. You should never buy an Olight full retail unless you're really short on time. They have monthly sales, that applies to both their web store, where they have free gifts, coupons you can use for further discounts, and their Amazon store, which also goes on pretty deep discounts monthly as well. For £33 and the rechargeable battery included, honestly, I think that's an okay price. But for the sale price, which I think is closer to around £27, I feel a lot better about it. I feel conflicted on this as a light overall. I find myself drawn to it, and I can say that I do recommend it, but I do also find myself saying with caveats. This is going to be more annoying to recharge than an i5R, just because this whole end cap situation with the short threads and the O-ring is just more fiddly than the much larger end cap you have on the i5R, i5T series. It just is. So that is something you're going to want to think about. Or you might want to consider a light of this form factor that has some external charging on board, or if you're still into Olight, perhaps a Baton series light instead. I don't think that's a big issue. The main thing I would think about for this is how it feels in hand. Whilst this pentagonal shape does help with retention a little bit, this is a completely smooth light, with the only texture being the laser engraving of the model and the brand. So this can potentially be quite slippy, and it is quite a compact light, so if you're working outside a lot and it rains, it could get a little bit of a slippery situation, so I would advise using a lanyard in that case. The lack of a pocket clip is a little bit annoying in my opinion. I would have liked a way to include a pocket clip, even if it was just a screw down one like you have on the new i3T2. but it's not a deal breaker, and this is a light that I often just throw in like a sweatpants pocket or into a different kind of pouch just to have. I think the range of brightnesses and the full Olight UI is very compelling in this form factor. I just think that depending on your personal situation, you might want to consider other options. Always look to see what's best for you. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you think of the Olight Diffuse down in the comment section below. And if you like this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. It helps the channel grow and I greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to support the channel more directly, then please feel free to join the membership program on YouTube, or I'll sign up on Patreon. You'll get benefits like early access to videos, additional videos not released elsewhere, and more access to myself. So until next time, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.